If I had to start over with absolutely nothing but the power in my voice, I would still become wealthy beyond measure, because I know what most people will never discover in their lifetime. Your voice is not just a tool for communication. Your voice is the master key to the vault of infinite abundance. It is the divine technology that transforms the invisible into the visible, the potential into the actual, the spiritual into the material. I would not fear the empty bank account. I would not tremble before the stack of unpaid bills. I would not look to the left or right for rescue from external sources, because I have learned the secret that changes everything. The word is the wealth. The decree is the door. The declaration is the demonstration. And when you speak from the throne of spiritual authority, heaven itself must obey your command. Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every excuse you've ever made for financial struggle. It will dissolve every story you've told yourself about why money flows to others but not to you. It will awaken within you a recognition so profound that you'll wonder how you ever lived believing that prosperity was something outside of yourself, something to be chased rather than something to be commanded into existence through the divine power of your own voice. The secret is not in your education, though knowledge has its place. It's not in your connections, though relationships matter. It's not in your circumstances, your background, your age, your experience, or any external factor that the world teaches you to depend upon. The secret has been with you since your first breath, closer than your heartbeat, more available than the air you breathe, more powerful than any force in the physical universe. Your voice aligned with truth is your bank, your credit line, your access to the infinite supply that governs all creation. It is not the job market that determines your wealth. It is not the economy that controls your prosperity. It is not other people who hold the keys to your financial freedom. It is the decree, the divine decree that flows from your lips when aligned with spiritual law, that cracks open the vaults of heaven and releases torrents of abundance into your experience. But here's what the world never taught you, what your parents couldn't show you, because they never learned it themselves, what schools systematically omit from their curriculum, because it would make their entire system obsolete. Most people are not poor because of external circumstances. They are poor because they have been speaking poverty into existence through their own mouths, creating lack through their own declarations, manifesting limitation through their own words. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," you issue a command to the universe to confirm that statement. Every time you declare, "Money is tight," you tighten the flow of abundance in your life. Every time you speak about being broke, struggling, or financially stressed, you are literally programming your subconscious mind to create more of those exact conditions. You see, your subconscious mind doesn't argue with you. It doesn't question your statements. It doesn't analyze whether what you're saying is helpful or harmful. It simply takes whatever you repeatedly declare and works tirelessly to make it your reality. It is the most faithful servant you will ever have, and it obeys your spoken word with mechanical precision. This is why I can start with nothing and still become rich. Because I understand that wealth does not come from effort, from hours worked, or from strategies executed. Wealth comes by the law of prosperity, divine law that is irrevocable and ever ready, which declares that all supply is spiritual and all demonstration begins in consciousness. You are not made rich by the outer world. You are made rich by your inner word. It is law that what you impress upon the subconscious mind must be expressed in your affairs. Most people live in poverty, not because abundance is unavailable, but because their speech denies their divine inheritance. They affirm lack through casual conversation. They worship delay through their constant complaints. They bow before fear through their worried declarations. But the law of prosperity is unmoved by appearances. It doesn't care if your pockets are empty, if your account shows a negative balance, if your clients have disappeared, or if the market conditions seem impossible. The law only asks one question. What are you speaking? What are you imagining? What are you declaring to be true? Because your word is the mold, and divine supply is the molten gold that fills it. Whatever shape you create with your consistent declarations, that is the form your abundance must take. This is not metaphysical theory. This is spiritual science operating with mathematical precision. Let me tell you how this works in practical terms. When Scripture says, "Let the weak say I am strong," this is not poetic sentiment or motivational fluff. This is spiritual precision. It means that even when your hands are trembling with fear, even when the door seems permanently closed, even when your bank account is whispering lies about your worth, you must speak the truth of spirit, not the report of your senses. You must say, "I am strong," when everything appears weak. You must declare, "I am rich," when everything looks poor. You must announce, "There is no delay in divine supply," when everything seems stalled. You speak the truth of the invisible realm, not the temporary conditions of the material world, because your voice is the lever that lifts the weight of limitation off your shoulders. Most people who think they are starting over financially are actually starting over spiritually. They have built their financial lives on sand, on the shifting foundations of external circumstances. They have hustled without declaring truth. They have moved without listening to divine guidance. They have tried to earn through effort what was meant to be spoken into form through faith. And so when the inevitable tide comes in and sweeps away what was built on false foundations, they believe they have lost everything. But I tell you with absolute certainty, you have only lost what was never truly yours to begin with. What belongs to you by divine right, what is yours by spiritual decree, can never be taken away. It must appear again and again because it is backed by eternal law. So when I say start over, I don't mean with new strategies or different tactics. I mean start over in consciousness. Start over in your daily declarations. Tear down the house of doubt that you've been living in, and build the mansion of truth with your own voice. Begin again, not in fear or striving or human logic, but in the authority of divine decree. Because the wall that has kept you from millions was never made of stone or steel, or any external barrier. It was made of silence. It was constructed from hesitation. It was built through begging instead of commanding, through asking instead of authorizing, through hoping instead of knowing. Break that wall now with the hammer of your voice. Speak your word with power. Align your declarations with divine law. Announce that your supply is spiritual, eternal, invisible, and now being made visible through your consistent, unwavering spoken word. Speak until you see it manifested. Declare until you can hold it in your hands. Say it until it comes rushing into your experience like a river that has been dammed up for years, suddenly breaking free. Because that is exactly how the law of prosperity operates. Not through effort and struggle, but through authority and alignment. Through divine words spoken in absolute faith. And you have that power right now, in this moment. You don't need to develop it, or earn it, or prove yourself worthy of it. You simply need to use it. You need to open your mouth and speak riches, instead of poverty. You need to declare abundance instead of lack. You need to command prosperity with a voice that doesn't tremble, a voice that knows its power, a voice that remembers its divine source. Most people wait to see the money before they feel secure about their financial future. They wait to receive the check before they give thanks for their abundance. They wait for the door to open before they call themselves prosperous. But divine law does not operate according to human timelines or logical sequences. Divine law moves only when you move by faith. When you dare to declare what the physical eye has not yet seen, and the human hand has not yet touched, you activate forces in the invisible realm that immediately begin rearranging circumstances to match your spoken word. You must speak it first, before any evidence appears. You must command it first, before any confirmation arrives. You must declare it in the silence, in the absence, in the apparent nothingness. And you must speak it as if the entire universe already agrees with your statement, because in the realm of spirit, it does. That is the secret of true wealth creation. Not ambition driving you forward, not worry keeping you up at night, not complex strategies requiring years to implement, but divine speech. Rhythmically repeated, spiritually backed, unquestioningly believed. Consistently spoken, until it becomes the dominant vibration of your consciousness. You do not need to convince the world of your worth. You need only convince your subconscious mind of your divine inheritance. And the subconscious, when properly impressed with truth rather than fear, will build your fortune, organize your affairs, arrange your meetings, fill your accounts, and place you in exactly the right place, at exactly the right time to receive what you have been calling forth in the realm of spirit. The outer world is always the echo. The inner world of your consistent declarations is always the original sound. So I say to you with the authority of one who has proven this law again and again, declare it now without hesitation. Say with absolute certainty, I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing in heaven or earth can keep it from me. Say it not with uncertainty or hope, but with the finality of spiritual law. Say it as a decree from the throne of your own divine authority. You are not speaking to wealth as if it's separate from you. You are speaking from wealth as if it's your very nature, because it is. You are not begging some distant force to help you. You are summoning what already belongs to you, by divine inheritance. What has been yours since before the foundation of the world? What exists in the eternal storehouse, waiting only for your voice to call it forth into manifestation? Let this declaration become your spiritual sword, your daily bread, your constant companion. Say it in the morning before you check your financial accounts. Say it when fear tries to creep into your thoughts. Say it before you go to sleep, and let it program your subconscious mind while you rest. Say it until your entire atmosphere hums with the vibration of divine provision. Say it until doubt finds no home in your consciousness. Say it until lack becomes literally impossible in your experience, because you have filled every corner of your being with the truth of abundance. I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing can keep it from me. Let every word ring like a bell in the depths of your soul. Let this declaration dissolve years of accumulated doubt. Let it cancel decades of inherited limitation. Let it undo the programming of scarcity that was never yours to begin with. Let it rewire your entire nervous system until you no longer hope for money, you expect it. Until you no longer fear lack, you laugh at the very suggestion. Until you walk through life as one who knows with absolute certainty that the treasury of heaven stands wide open at the sound of your voice. This is not fantasy or positive thinking or wishful imagination. This is spiritual law operating with the same reliability as gravity, the same consistency as mathematics, the same precision as any natural force. And law is not emotional. It is not moved by whining or worry or desperate pleading. It is activated by precision, by clear intention, by unwavering conviction. So stop narrating your lack to anyone who will listen. Stop rehearsing your fears in your private moments. Stop reinforcing the illusion of limitation with words of doubt and defeat. Instead, speak wealth with every breath. Declare abundance with every sentence. Announce your divine inheritance with every conversation. And do it now, today, this moment. Because every day you delay is another day you reinforce the false programming that has been keeping you trapped in financial struggle. Speak the truth about your spiritual nature. Stand firmly in the invisible riches that already surround you, and let the material world catch up to what you already know is yours by divine right. Say it until you become it. Declare it until it manifests completely. And never again give your voice to the lie of lack, because you now know better. You now understand that poverty is not a condition imposed upon you by external forces. Poverty is a conversation you've been having with yourself, and today that conversation changes forever. You must now go deeper than surface declarations. You must penetrate beneath the conscious mind, to the deeper levels where real transformation occurs. Because within every person who has suffered under the illusion of financial limitation, there exists a clamor of doubt, a static of inner resistance, a loud and lying chorus that speaks in the voice of past experience, inherited memory, and accumulated disappointment. This inner noise must be cleared completely, because it interferes with the pure broadcast of truth. It scrambles the signal between your conscious declarations and your subconscious programming. It creates contradiction in your energy field that blocks the flow of abundance you're trying to create. What is this internal noise? It is the memory of past financial failures echoing in your mind. It is the sound of rejection letters, declined applications, and closed doors playing on repeat in your subconscious. It is the shame of financial mistakes, the embarrassment of past struggles, the fear of experiencing disappointment again. It is the voice that whispers, "You tried this before, and it didn't work." Every time you begin to speak with authority about your abundance, it is the inner skeptic that says, "Maybe some people are just naturally lucky with money." When you see others succeeding where you have struggled, it is the realistic voice that shouts, "Be practical about your expectations when you dare to dream of true prosperity." But I tell you with absolute authority, that voice is not your voice. Those thoughts are not your thoughts. That inner commentary is not divine guidance or spiritual wisdom. It is the voice of collective hypnosis, the echo of generational limitation, the sound of a world that has forgotten its spiritual nature and divine inheritance. And it is not permanent. It is not unchangeable. It is not the final word on your financial destiny. It is simply programming that can be overwritten, patterns that can be interrupted, frequencies that can be changed through the deliberate and consistent practice of truth, speaking. You must speak your declarations of abundance until that inner noise is silenced completely. You must repeat the truth about your divine supply until it rings louder than any memory of past failure. You must say, "I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing can keep it from me." Until that sentence becomes louder than your history, stronger than your fear, more real than your current circumstances, you must not fight against the inner noise, because resistance only gives it more power. Instead, you must replace it completely. You must fill your consciousness so thoroughly with truth that there is no room left for the lies. You must understand that your subconscious mind cannot hold two opposing pictures simultaneously. When you consistently fill it with images and words of abundance, it must reject and release the old programming of lack. Think of your inner world like a radio that has been tuned to the static, filled frequency of financial struggle. If you want to hear the clear broadcast of prosperity consciousness, you must deliberately tune to a different station. You must turn the dial of your attention away from the noise of limitation and lock onto the signal of abundance. The static represents your old beliefs about money, your inherited fears about survival, your learned responses to financial pressure. But underneath that static, broadcasting constantly and clearly, is the pure signal of divine supply, the eternal transmission of your spiritual inheritance. The never-ending flow of abundance that has been calling your name since the moment you were born. You access this clear signal not by trying to eliminate every doubt or fear, but by consistently choosing to focus on and speak from the truth of your spiritual nature. Every time you declare your abundance, you turn up the volume on the divine broadcast. Every time you speak from faith rather than fear, You strengthen the connection to your source. The old static-filled programming tells you, unless I see it with my physical eyes, I cannot believe it in my heart. But the clear signal of spiritual truth operates by the opposite principle. I must believe it first, speak it first, declare it first, and then I will see it manifested in my experience. That is the path of spiritual mastery. That is the voice of true dominion. You are not a seeker desperately searching for wealth in the external world. You are a divine magnet, drawing to yourself the abundance that matches your inner conviction. You are not chasing prosperity, like some elusive butterfly. You are commanding it to manifest through the authority of your consistent, unwavering spoken word. When your inner frequency is properly tuned, when the static of doubt has been cleared away, when your declarations flow from pure faith, rather than desperate hope, the outer world must mirror this internal transformation. It is spiritual law. It is absolutely inevitable. The old version of yourself who struggled with money, who calculated every expense with anxiety, who panicked at the sight of an unexpected bill, that person no longer exists. They have been replaced by someone who knows their divine nature, someone who speaks from spiritual authority, someone who has tuned their consciousness to the frequency of abundance and refuses to be moved by temporary appearances. Let the inner noise fall silent now. Let the static of limitation fade away completely. Let the voice of divine truth speak through you with absolute clarity, perfect rhythm, and unshakable certainty. You are not just a person trying to improve their finances. You are a temple of prosperity, a transmitter of abundance, a living magnet for wealth, a divine vessel through which infinite supply flows into the world. Say your declarations until they become your new inner silence. Speak your truth until it becomes the background music of your soul. Declare your abundance until your very being vibrates with the absolute certainty that nothing, absolutely nothing, can keep from you what God has already declared to be yours by divine right and spiritual law. Now I must address the deepest level of financial transformation, because poverty is not simply a lack of money. Poverty is a spell, a spoken curse, a whispered agreement with limitation that has been repeated so many times it has hardened into what appears to be reality. But it is not reality. It is not divine law. It is not your true spiritual condition. Poverty is the echo of words long forgotten, declarations that may have been spoken over you by well-meaning but financially unconscious parents, worried teachers, anxious friends, or bitter voices who had themselves bowed before the altar of limitation and learned to worship scarcity as if it were sacred. The phrases that created this spell sound innocent enough. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for every dollar. That's too expensive for people like us. Rich people are greedy and corrupt. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. Money is the root of all evil. These statements, seemingly small and casual, were repeated over and over throughout your formative years. They entered your subconscious mind like seeds planted in fertile soil, taking root in the deepest levels of your psyche, growing into invisible trees that have been bearing the fruit of limitation in your life ever since. Your financial thermostat was set by these early declarations, just like a home heating system that maintains a consistent temperature regardless of external conditions. No matter how much effort you put into trying to increase your wealth, if your inner thermostat is set to poverty consciousness, you will unconsciously sabotage any success that threatens to raise your financial temperature beyond what feels familiar and safe. But today you discover the liberating truth. You are not cursed. You are not bound by the financial limitations of your family lineage. You are not restricted by your background, your education, your age, or any external circumstance. You are bound only by the words you have accepted as true about your relationship with money and abundance. The moment you choose to speak a new word, to install a different declaration, to shatter the old spell with a fresh decree, you are immediately free. You are released from generational patterns of lack. You are reprogrammed for prosperity. You are restored to your divine inheritance of abundance. The decree that accomplishes this transformation is both simple and profound. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now under grace in perfect ways. This is not merely a wish or a hopeful statement. This is not a charm or magical incantation. This is a spiritual detonator that, when spoken with genuine faith, consistent repetition, and rhythmic authority, will blow the chains off your consciousness and flood your life with the substance it commands to appear. You must understand the power of each word in this declaration. God is my unfailing supply. Establishes your source as infinite, eternal, and absolutely reliable. It disconnects your sense of security from any external person, system, or circumstance. It declares that your provision comes from the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies and governs the movement of planets. Large sums of money breaks the limitation of thinking small, hoping for just enough, or settling for mere survival. It programs your subconscious to expect abundance, to prepare for overflow, to become comfortable with receiving far more than your current circumstances suggest is possible. Come to me now eliminates the illusion of delay. The false belief that abundance is reserved for some future time, when you've somehow earned it or proved yourself worthy. It declares that prosperity is your present reality, available immediately through the activation of spiritual law. Under grace, removes all struggle, effort, and manipulation from the equation. It ensures that your abundance flows easily, naturally, without stress or strain, guided by divine intelligence rather than human scheming. In perfect ways, surrenders the method to infinite wisdom while maintaining absolute faith in the outcome. It acknowledges that the universe has resources, connections, and possibilities far beyond your current awareness or imagination. You must no longer repeat the sentences of limitation that created the original spell. You must no longer describe your financial struggles to anyone who will listen. You must no longer decorate your conversations with the language of lack. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," every time you sigh with resignation when bills arrive, every time you speak about financial difficulty or delay, you reinforce the false programming and add another brick to the wall that stands between you and your good. Tear down that wall now with your words. Demolish the spell with this specific declaration. Shatter the illusion with the hammer of divine truth. Speak it without ceasing. In the face of contradictory evidence, when you feel foolish for believing it, until the old programming breaks completely, and you realize that the truth was always there, waiting patiently for you to speak it into activation. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now under grace in perfect ways. This is your sword against the illusion of poverty. This is your staff of authority in the valley of financial shadows. This is the declaration that breaks generational curses and establishes you in the prosperity that has always been your divine birthright. Speak it with the authority of one who knows that spiritual law cannot be broken, only activated or ignored. Speak it until the old spell completely dissolves, and the new reality becomes the only truth you can remember. Speak it, and be made permanently free from the lie of limitation forever. The mechanism that makes this transformation possible is the law of substitution, a divine principle as fundamental as gravity, woven into the very fabric of consciousness itself, operating automatically whether you understand it or not. This law declares that no two contradictory beliefs can occupy the same space in your mind simultaneously. You cannot simultaneously believe in wealth and poverty. You cannot serve both faith and fear. You cannot declare abundance while secretly carrying vows of struggle in the hidden chambers of your heart. The law of substitution comes not to condemn your current condition, but to show you the way out of it. This law says, replace the lie with truth. Substitute the old image with the divine reality. Exchange the false programming with the spiritual facts. When you speak truth in the presence of error, truth wins every single time. Just as light immediately dispels darkness the moment it is introduced into a darkened room. That is why the declaration, God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now under grace in perfect ways, is not just a positive statement or hopeful affirmation. It is the spiritual light switch. It is the divine replacement for every thought, word, and belief that has been keeping you trapped in financial limitation. When you speak this declaration with genuine conviction, you are not trying to convince God to give you something you don't already have. You are not attempting to manipulate universal forces through repetitive words. You are installing a new vibrational frequency into your own consciousness, replacing the static of scarcity with the clear signal of abundance. Your subconscious mind, which has been faithfully creating experiences that match whatever you've been consistently declaring, begins to receive new instructions. When it hears truth spoken with emotion, repetition, and unwavering faith, it must accept these new commands and begin reorganizing your external circumstances to reflect this updated programming. What your subconscious accepts as true, your external world must reflect as real. This is not theory or speculation. This is the documented operation of the most fundamental law governing human experience. Change the inner conversation, and the outer conditions must change to match. The law of substitution does not require you to be perfect before you begin speaking truth. It does not demand that you clean up your entire belief system before you start declaring abundance. It asks only that you begin replacing error with truth. One declaration at a time, one moment at a time, one choice at a time. It invites you not to earn your worthiness through good behavior, but to claim your inheritance through bold speaking. It commands you to stop repeating the old story of struggle, not because the story is shameful, but because it is powerless to create anything except more of the same limitation. A new declaration, consistently spoken, will evict the old programming just as surely as turning on a light eliminates darkness. But this new declaration must be spiritual in nature, absolute in truth, and yours by choice, not borrowed from someone else's experience or mumbled like a meaningless ritual. When you declare, God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me, now under grace in perfect ways, you are not speaking hopefully or experimentally. You are issuing a divine decree backed by eternal law. You are announcing a spiritual fact that exists independent of current appearances. You are calling forth what already belongs to you in the realm of infinite possibility. And when you speak from this place of absolute spiritual authority, when you obey the law of substitution by replacing lies with truth, your entire life begins to reorganize itself around this new frequency. Not because you forced change through willpower, but because you finally aligned with the divine current that has been waiting all along for your conscious cooperation. The word, poverty, has no power when it encounters the word, God. The phrase, I can't afford it, dissolves in the presence of unfailing supply. The belief in scarcity crumbles when confronted with large sums of money. The illusion of delay vanishes when faced with, come to me now. This is the law of substitution in operation, and it cannot be broken. Speak the new word and the old world must dissolve. Declare the truth and the illusion must fade. Replace limitation with liberation, and watch your reality transform before your eyes. Say it now with complete conviction. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me, now under grace in perfect ways. Let this declaration become the new foundation of your financial consciousness, and everything built upon it will reflect its truth. Now let me teach you exactly how to speak this declaration. because the power is not just in the words themselves, but in the way you deliver them. You do not recite this sentence like a parrot hoping for treats or mumble it like a desperate prayer whispered in the darkness. You declare it as a spiritual commander, speaking to the very foundations of creation. You do not whisper it with trembling uncertainty, or speak it with the energy of begging. You do not treat it as a suggestion you're making to the universe, or a request you're hoping will be granted. You speak it with rhythm, with authority, with the full force of your divine nature, expressing itself through human breath. This is not the repetition of desperation. This is the rhythm of dominion. This is not mechanical chanting designed to hypnotize yourself into feeling better. This is conscious programming designed to align your entire being with the frequency of divine abundance. You must understand that the first time you speak this declaration, it may sound foreign to your ears, because it contradicts everything your current circumstances seem to be telling you. The second time you say it, doubt may try to creep in and question whether you really believe what you're saying. The third time, your logical mind might wonder if this process actually works, or if you're just wasting your time. But somewhere around the 50th repetition, the 100th declaration, the 1000th conscious choice to speak truth instead of fear, something profound begins to shift. Not in the external world initially, but in the internal landscape of your consciousness. The old architecture of limitation begins to crack and crumble. The familiar structures of financial worry start to shake and fall. The new declaration begins to take root in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, growing stronger with each repetition, spreading its influence through every level of your being, until it becomes more real to you than your bank balance, more true than your current circumstances, more powerful than any evidence your physical senses might offer to the contrary. You begin to believe it not just intellectually, but viscerally, cellularly, completely. Your posture changes as you walk through the world. Your voice carries a different tone when you speak about money. Your entire energy field begins to shift from the frequency of lack to the vibration of abundance. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now under grace in perfect ways. Let every single word carry weight and meaning. Break down the declaration if necessary and emphasize each component. God. Not other people, not economic conditions, not market fluctuations, but the infinite intelligence that created and sustains all existence. My unfailing supply. Not a temporary fix, not a one-time miracle, not a fluctuating resource, but permanent, reliable, inexhaustible provision. Large sums of money. Not just enough to get by, not merely adequate to survive, not small amounts that require careful budgeting, but abundant wealth that flows freely and continuously. Come to me. They are moving in your direction, drawing closer to your experience, actively seeking you out rather than running away from you. No, not someday in the distant future. Not when you've somehow earned it through suffering. Not after you've proved your worthiness through struggle, but immediately, presently, in this moment. Under grace, with ease rather than effort, through divine orchestration rather than human manipulation, by spiritual law rather than worldly strategy. In perfect ways, through channels you may not expect, via methods you cannot currently imagine. By means that infinite intelligence will arrange, without your needing to figure out the details or control the process. Speak this declaration like it is your new address, your permanent residence in consciousness. Say it like it is your heartbeat, the natural rhythm of your spiritual life. Declare it like it is the fundamental law of your existence, because it is. When doubt attempts to argue with your declaration, when appearances try to contradict your words, when the voice of logic whispers that things like this take years to manifest, that wealth must be accumulated slowly and carefully through conventional means, that success is a ladder you must climb rung by rung with blood, and sweat and sacrifice at every level. That is precisely when you must speak your truth louder and with greater authority. That is when you lift your head high and declare what is eternally true, rather than what is temporarily visible, because words spoken in perfect alignment with spiritual law do not depend on physical evidence for their power. They create evidence. They manufacture proof. They generate the very circumstances they describe. If you will be absolutely faithful to this declaration, if you will speak it not as a hopeful wish, but as an unbreakable spiritual law, if you will repeat it until it rewrites every limiting program in your subconscious mind, then the money must come, the provision must appear, the doors must open, the opportunities must align, and your entire financial reality will be transformed into a living demonstration of divine abundance, spoken into form by your unwavering word. This is not theory or speculation. This is documented spiritual science. This is the technology of the masters. This is how fortunes are built, not through grinding effort, but through aligned authority. Not through desperate struggle, but through divine declaration. Your voice is the key. Your words are the power. Your consistent speaking is the process. And the abundance you seek is not distant or difficult to access. It is as close as your next declaration, as available as your next breath, as certain as your willingness to speak truth regardless of appearances. Declare it now. Declare it daily. Declare it until your entire reality bends to match the magnitude of what you have spoken. This is your inheritance. This is your authority. This is your destiny made manifest through the divine power of your own voice.